Tim?
Oh God, had it. I think it was Tommy Vitor who you were talking to, and he said, "I'm so sick of losing to fucking losers."
Mm-hmm.
JD Vance is such a fucking loser. He is such a loser. He's one of those insecure men I just described earlier. And I think, Jennifer, you described him as like, a failed drag queen. It's what he always wanted. And then he had to write the book and, pretend to be that. And then now he's vice president. It's what he always wanted. He is such a loser. He's an insecure man. He doesn't have a job. All he does at the White House is troll. He went after me on Twitter. You cannot be an elected official at that high and going after 23-year-olds on social. That cannot be the way. And so I hate JD Vance. And so I've certainly had it with his dumbass costume, his dumbass face, and everything he does.
Disclaimer. The views and opinions expressed on this panel show are those of the individual speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of this channel, its affiliates, sponsors, or production team. This content is intended for informational and entertainment purposes only. Viewer discretion is advised. We encourage respectful dialogue and critical thinking around the topics discussed.
Party. Why I like the new party? Number one, it's a group of people that's on a panel. We all have differences, but we all basically still come together at the end of the day. The new party for me is about unity. The new party for me is about educating people to the truth, letting people know what's been going on in our country. With that being said, shout out to the new party, man. We're going to keep it going with y'all.
Welcome to the new party. I'm Nora Christine.
I'm Ray Mars.
I'm Enzo.
I'm Skeptic.
I'm Kamal.
And tonight on the new party, we are going to be answering a few questions, starting with why did the government shutdown last so long? I just played Harry Sisson to give a little joke because he appears to being the pseudo leader now of the Democrats. He's been doing more talking and stage time than most Democrats at this point. So I just wanted to get a little hee laugh and start it off. But this is the Democrats. People basically been calling it out. Why did this last so long? That's the question we really need to answer. Here is AOC, who's actually looking like the front runner. And here's what she had to say.
There is a deep sense of outrage and betrayal. And this is not just about progressive Democrats. This is across the board, the entire party. There are members of Congress who have won Trump-held districts in some of the most difficult territory in the United States who walked the plank and took innumerable risks in order to defend the American people, in order to defend Social Security, Medicaid, and Medicare, just to see Senate Democrats even consider acquiescing to Elon Musk. I think it is a huge slap in the face, and I think that there's a wide sense of betrayal if things proceed as currently planned.
How will House Democrats and Senate Democrats work together now if there is such a sense of betrayal?
I think that creates a real challenge, and that in and of itself, I think, is part of what makes the leadership of this moment so crucial, because this is a decision about trust. It is a decision about trust and cooperation, because there will be a day where the Senate will need the House to move on something, and if there is an erosion of trust and a breach of trust, such as what is being considered right now, it will make cooperation difficult. And we cannot afford to be in an every person for themselves kind of moment. We need to work together and as a team in order to usher our country through this very dark time.
The point that Senator Schumer has kind of made is, the CR is bad, but a shutdown is worse. So how do you respond to that point?
That is, I cannot I cannot underscore enough how incorrect that is. Because what this does, what voting for this CR does, is that it codifies the chaos and the reckless cuts that Elon Musk has been pursuing. The robbing of our federal government in order to finance tax cuts for billionaires is what is happening, and that is what Senate Democrats will be empowering if they vote for the CR.
Oh gosh, guys, sorry, we're having some technical difficulties in here tonight. New technology, that's what happens. But nevertheless, I'm gonna let Enzo go first because I think he's the only one y'all can see. Oh wait, now we can see everyone.
Yeah, we
Enzo,
see
what's your
everyone now.
thoughts on the clip that I played and what she's saying about the government shutdown?
A bunch of horse shit out of AOC's mouth. That's all she does. She echoes everything that the Democrat Party says. This whole shutdown could have been avoided. And it's funny that they're eating their own right now, to be honest with you, because after they passed it in the Senate on Sunday night, you go on Twitter, it was a shit show. It was the funniest thing of all of them eating their own, saying that they're weak. And here's the funny thing too. So I went through that entire CR that Chuck Schumer and them put forward, right? And I went back and watched clips of Chuck Schumer, AOC, Nancy Pelosi, Jeffries, all of them, right? And it's funny how they say by putting these ACA subsidies in that healthcare premiums would not rise. Every one of them said that. But in their own bill that they put forward, healthcare premiums would rise anywhere between 2 to 8% every single year. So are we going to continue to lie to the American people about healthcare and say that this whole shutdown was for healthcare, or are we just going to admit what it was, that healthcare prices are going to rise regardless under the Obamacare, which has risen since it's been implemented over 1,000% for people, and just tell us that it was completely election manipulation to play into people's emotions to get what they want? Because right after those elections were done, they were so ready to sit down and make a deal, and they didn't even get what they wanted. That's the funny thing. So what was this for? I thought we really were about the American people.
Yeah, so Fetterman also went on The View. I'm gonna have Skeptic respond to this. When Fetterman went on The View, let's see what he had to say.
Poll found more Americans on both sides of the aisle blaming Republicans. Even Marjorie Taylor Greene blamed the GOP. As you mentioned, Democrats had big wins last week, so you had momentum. Why give in now? Why bring a butter knife to a gunfight? Are you willing to gamble that the GOP will negotiate on health care in good faith once the government reopens? Because if that gamble is wrong, 500,000 Pennsylvanians that you represent, their health care costs will skyrocket if you are wrong. And I believe you are wrong.
Well, first of all, MTG is quite literally the last person in America that I'm going to take advice or to get their kinds of my leadership and values from. And now if Democrats are celebrating crazy pants like that, then that's on them. And now I don't need a lecture. I don't need a lecture from whether it's Bernie or the governor in California, because they are representing very deep blue kinds of populations. And a lot of those things were part of the extreme. And now remember, what really needs to win, the big win, is involving my state and other states in those things. And why have we arrived here after the election a year ago? We got to forget some of the things that cost us that election. Or now, for me, it's like, that's why I'm trying to remind people that kinds of the extremism, we can't return to those kind of things and realize we need to find a way forward. And I would like to, rather than cite MTG, I'm going to cite one of the new governor-elects saying that my election is not a green light to continue the shutdown, because I promise you, this isn't a political game. It is viewed by many of us, but the reality is 42 million Americans now not sure where their next meal is going to come from. And because we vote like that, or people that haven't been paid for 5 weeks now, and that kinds of chaos.
Okay, so Skeptic, what do you think about what he said? Do you think that is a legit fair that they're not going to give the ACA subsidies once they go back to vote again in January? We can't.
Something wrong with her audio.
Okay, so Skeptic, I would say come back and go back in. I'm gonna let Gray respond then, and when you come back, you can respond. Gray, what do you think?
I think to a certain extent that he's right. I mean, why would the Democrats want to keep the shutdown going if they had good elections and basically like they're getting blamed for it as well. Why continue like bleeding? Why not just stop it and say, okay, let's try to work something out? Like people are already liking us, so let's try to work with the Republicans and try to get something done. So I feel like he's taking the right approach.
Well, this is another take on the government shutdown. This guy said this is why he believes it happened.
The whole government shutdown thing was always just a big ploy. Let me explain. So first, the news just broke that the longest ever government shutdown is finally coming to an end. They're saying that the broad framework for this agreement was negotiated by Senator Angus King, Jeanne Shaheen, and Maggie Hassan, as well as GOP senators, has now, quote, more than enough members of the Senate Democratic Caucus to advance, according to two people granted anonymity to disclose the terms. So then I went to research what was so different about this new bill, and the answer is absolutely nothing. They say that this deal is a pragmatic off-ramp from the initial stalemate, a quote-unquote cleaner CR with some wins for both sides, but it largely kicks the core fights, ACA subsidies, Medicaid cuts down the road without resolution. So why the vote now? Well, it's this. One of the main reasons why the shutdown began in the first place is because the Democrats feared electoral backlash from their base. This is an article from last month, and they said that, quote, it's been clear to them that the American people don't want to see a Democratic Party that capitulates to a Republican extremism. They want a party that stands up for people's health care, that stands up for our democracy, and that's what they're doing now. And that message worked brilliantly for the Democrats. They absolutely shellacked the Republicans in the elections last week. And now Democrats who won their elections last week are coming out and saying, yeah, they can be done with this government shutdown now. Yeah, that big fight over healthcare, yeah, that is not even in this new bill. So we had a 40-day government shutdown, air traffic, a complete mess, massive bread lines across the country for absolutely no reason. Okay, it's all a freaking game to these scumbags, and the American people are always the one to suffer.
Okay, Skeptic, you're back. Do you agree with that it's a game?
Skeptic, are you there?
Okay, Skeptic. I don't know what you're using, but you can't hear us on there. So if you have a laptop or a phone, go use your phone because there's something going on with the audio because you can't hear us and we're speaking.
Want to go to phone?
Yeah, I'm gonna go to Kamal. Kamal, what do you think about the clip?
I mean, this shit ain't nothing new. They always it's like I'm not surprised, man. It's what they do. All right. And hey, can y'all mute? I'm hearing a wild echo right now. I don't know if it's me or there it goes. Can y'all hear me?
It was Nora.
It's Nora? Okay. Yep. Okay, yeah, that's the echo. All right, for sure. Yeah, I'm not really surprised though. Like they always use the American people as like fucking stepping stones to get what they want. Both parties. You feel me? So I ain't surprised by this. This ain't nothing new. You feel me? I wonder, Skepta, is your shit working? Yeah, we can't hear you. Damn. Trump got her. Trump got her internet.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
awesome.
Rising guys here. Oh, now we can't hear you again.
Now we can't hear you. It's the Timu mic.
Come on, you have anything else to say? Go to the next thing if you don't.
No, I really don't. I have nothing else to say. We just yeah.
Oh Lord, what a night. Okay, we're gonna move on to the next thing. Skeptic, I can't hear you, boo.
Can you hear me now?
Now I can hear you.
Okay. All right. Well, okay. So let me start from the beginning because I've been doing so many things. So the bill that the big ugly bill that they passed, right? It does cut down provisions for the Affordable Care Act. So it would negatively affect millions of Americans that are covered under the Affordable Care Act, right? Okay. So when we talk about SNAP and stuff and they say these things like, why didn't the Democrats, this administration, this president could have funded SNAP for a week or 2 weeks or however much money that they say that they had, and he decided not to do that. Also, I feel like the continuing resolution, right, is like an agreement for them before they start appropriating the funds for the bill. So if there isn't change about the ACA, it means that they're still going to talk about what they need to do for it so that Americans don't lose the funding for it. So like the fact that this man was saying, I don't see any difference. Okay, that just means that when they start appropriating funds for this bill, they still want to talk about it. It's continuing. Like they're going to continue to find a resolution on this. And while they're doing that, while they're coming up with that, this is like the agreement that they have so far. So like it makes sense that that wouldn't be in there. Now, I'll say this. The Republicans or the Trump administration, one of the things that they had put inside of one of the CRs was that they were going to say who was going to get back pay, which was one of the things that Democrats said we're not going to agree to because that's ludicrous, right? That means that you're going to target people based on their political affiliation and whether or not they're going to get paid if they're government employees. So a lot of the like arguments that they're giving to me like don't make sense. Either they're not understanding the full like how this works, or they just want to straw man for this administration. But the reality of it is they are going to cut down on the subsidies that help with the Affordable Care Act. They've already started cutting down on Social Security, like disability like funding for some people. So like to say that this bill isn't going to cut down on people's healthcare coverage is just not true.
Man, those are thoughts to think about, and that's why the topic is tonight. 1 year later.